Good afternoon, folks. It is 101. I'm about to do this little live demo, working on one of the paintings that I actually created about a week ago, actually finishing it up, and this is the actual painting that I am going to be working on. For those who follow me and been chiming in and checking in on my posts, this was one of a series of paintings that I've created. And this was also included in a series that I've done on my YouTube channel, Artizfacts Art, and I was giving demonstrations of some of my technique using acrylic paints and abstract themes. So this was one of those paintings I had challenges with because after I did all of this, I didn't know what to make of it. And initially, for those who also been following me, I have a technique where what I would do is I would sometimes use blank canvases as a palette. And then after that, this actually becomes another piece of artwork. You'd be surprised how many other artists are all of a sudden doing this. But anyway, that is what it is. Now, I'm not saying that I invented it, but I'll just say it's kind of interesting that things are in sync with the universe. But that being said, so I've kind of analyzed my work and assessed it. And I say, now I have a theme I want to work with. This is going to be a person. I'm going to put this as a brother. There's going to be a brother here, maybe a brother with his lady they dating. This was a previous painting I have created in the background here, so you get a concept, matter of fact, I'll give you a better view. So along this kind of theme, like relationships, most of my work relates to family, community, and relationships. That's the theme I usually work with. And outside of this genre of creative work I also do sci-fi work and concept design. But for this demonstration, I'm going to do this. Now, in the event, if my signal seems to scramble out, I'm going to do another pre-recorded version of this, and then I'm going to post it on Facebook and the Gram and on my YouTube channel. If you get a chance, like, share, and subscribe. So, hold tight. I'm going to go get me that little coffee that I got going on, and I'm going to be back in about a few seconds. Yeah, that's what we call low budget theme music. Because I don't have money like that to create my own theme music. But anyway, why don't you use AI? I don't want to use AI for music. I'm not a musician. I'm an artist, so I might use it for that purposes to enhance my artwork. But anyway, yeah. So, and if you didn't get a chance to check it out, go to the page, my official Artizfacts Studio Gallery news page. Check out my Kevin McDowell page, and you can see I have a lot of these original pieces of work that I've created a survey. And what that survey entailed was just to get more engagement on my page and to spark some interest. What I've done is I did a interest survey in the sense that I posted 8 of my pieces of artwork, 8 of those pieces, and in that 8 pieces, I asked the audience, so what do you think of your preference between 1 to 8? How would you rank your favorite? And then the purpose of that was to tally that all up. And then from that tally, I would then reintroduce the top 3. With those top 3 of selected choices by the audience, I would make them into prints, limited prints. And then I would offer those prints for the first 3 people who would respond, and I would send them a free print. But the deadline for that is today. I've been posting it. Tomorrow is the March 1st, and you have to be able to do this before March 1st. So you got until, I guess, tonight to be able to engage. There's no obligation. There's no cost. Even when it comes to the artwork, the print, I'll cover the shipping and send it to you. So check it out. Get yourself a free print. All right. So we're going to dive right into this. I'm going to jump right into this painting. Yeah, so this painting, it took me a minute in terms of trying to really see what I could make of it, because even though I do abstract themes, I work with abstract themes, I didn't want it to be a centralized, strictly only abstract painting. So sometimes I like to incorporate some form of imagery. So for this one, I decided to make it a couple. This is another painting I did previous. Okay. It's also a couple. This one's finished for the most part. All needs my little signature. Okay. So it's going to be along that lines. I'm going to do a couple of couples. And so I figured it out. I'm going to start with the dude. The guy is going to be prominent right here. And what made me bring this out, what made it stand out for me, after I looked at this, I said, what am I going to do? My brain was rattling. And I said, okay, the eyes. And one day I was sitting looking at it and the eyes popped out. And I said, okay, well, if I focus on this, I'm going to use this little silver acrylic marker. And then these are where I saw the eyes. Right along here. Those are the pupils. And then once I saw this, everything else popped. You know, those are going to be the eyes, the nose, the head, the ear. And I said, okay, I can work with that. It may be abstract in form, but that made it come to life. So what I'm going to do for this purpose, I'm going to jump right into this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some black paint, this is Liquitex. This is the liquid fluid. I use a variation of different consistencies. Some paint I use is very liquidy, and some is very pasty. Let me get that out. Let me get this out. And these are the pasties in a, paste form. And I'm going to have some of this, just a little bit. Sometimes, occasionally, I'll use heavy mediums to give texture to the artwork. Sometimes I don't. This yellow, cadmium. I mentioned before, if you're using cadmium colors, cadmium lights, cadmium yellow, orange, whatever it is, cadmiums are toxic. So it's very important that if you ever decide to use, let's say, airbrushing techniques, you got to use the right filtration, because you don't want this stuff over time getting into your lungs, getting in your throat. It can mess you up. Let me get the last bit of, that's not coming out. Let me see what I can do with this. That's all dried up in there. So let me see if I can squeeze this. I want to use some of these yellows because I want to, there we go. There we go. Like that. And I'm going to add a little bit of, just so you can see the palette I'm working with, what I'm working with. Then there's that yellow. And I'm going to add a little bit of the liquid green, that phthalo green. I'll put that green right alongside that yellow. Greens are very deep color. Greens, blues, reds. They're very deep. Okay, so I'm going to start with, in this case, the black. And the reason I'm going to start with the black, because I already have a lot of color going on, and I want to just fill in where this character is going to be, this person. So I'm going to kind of outline a contour or fill in the contour of where his body's going to be. So this is going to be where his shoulder is. See, that's kind of cool because it has that texture in it. And then I'm going to, where his neck is going to be. And then in the back. Where his chin is going to be. This is that ear. Or that part of that ear. And then I could somewhere in there, try to give him a strong jaw. And then this came about because the contrast in color. Once I started staring at the work and analyzing it between the warms and the cools, I was able to see this form. And I said, okay, that can be the head. And so I'm going to put him here some kind of way. And I'll put her here. Okay. So, and this is all just really still just roughing this in. Some of these textures I will fill in black because then I can always bring out those textures later. So that's dude. Okay, so now let me eyes, where I want the shadows to be. Let me see. That. Maybe a little bridge of where the nose is going to be. Top lip. Shadow under the lip. And then the other eye. See how that comes out? And I'll work with this. I had to figure out what kind of hair I want to give him. Enlarge this a little bit. And I want to play with this color. You know, use the black to fill in. And I can always retexturize. Okay, let's see. Yeah. I want that part in shadow. So this is again just to fill in the form. So I can see what I'm working with. You know. Now she will be somewhere along here. So let me figure out contour of her face. Her chin. And as I'm doing this, sometimes if I don't feel the flow, I may revise it. You know, I may make her face even more simplistic. For this painting, he might be the emphasis of the painting, where in other paintings I've done, she was the emphasis. You know, just to get a sense of, and that's why he's more centered than she is for this particular painting. Some paintings are the opposite. All right, so hair-wise, let's give us some zigzag locks. And zigzag locks. Just for now, until I fill this out. All right, let's make this section shadow. Let's broaden his shoulder a little bit. Make it a little more massive. And then I can always highlight that in. So that's just to show you where I'm going with this in a nutshell. So that's that. I'll figure out what I want to do with the hair and everything else. And so then what I can do, let me clean my brush. And I'm going to go to a different brush because this was black paint. And I don't want to use a light color with that black paint because it's going to, while I'm cleaning my brush out, it's going to mud out that color. So I'll go with a clean brush, approximately the same size. And I'll take this, yellows and this greens, get a nice kind of lime green going on. You know, that nice green. I want to work with these greens. Certain greens, you know, I like these electric type greens, these lime greens. I think they're more intense in terms of how much light they reflect back. So I'm going to play with that somewhere on her. So since this has that little green value in it, maybe I'll work more with that and just put that on to bring that out a bit. I can always change at any point. Thing about this is what I like is that I don't have to commit to this right away. If I see it does not work, and I can always go back and change it. So if you're joining this live, if you're coming in to see artist Kev McDowell coming to you for ASG, coming to you from home, and I'll put the greens in. So in this situation, the green should represent the cools, the peace. And he'll have the reds and the warms, the warrior spirit. That protective energy. Yes, I'm going to play with that yellow. And then sometimes I think I will take some of this and let some of this bounce off the neck. And this is how I can overlap those textures. Put the paint on thick. Just like that. And against that dark, and that'll pop. So create those highlighted contours. Now maybe since this black is dry, I can also emphasize a little bit on this side of the face. And then noses. And again, if it doesn't work, I can always mute down. Let me see. And then let's put to define that more. And then let's do so now you can see how the face is coming together. Okay? Yeah. Put a little indication here. And then from this yellow, I'll begin to mix in and then create a different scheme. I'll go from yellow to orange to red, and I'll put that in the face. Let's see how this goes. This is going to be a short live demo. I'm sure it's a wonderful day. It's nice and freezing outside and a very beautiful, bright, sunny Sunday. Bright and sunny. It's a wonderful day today. Everyone needs to go out and take care of their activities and just enjoy life and just do your thing. I'm going to have me a little sip of my coffee first. That's great coffee. Yes. So let's get back to the work and then we can show. I'm adding some of this very bright, intense orange. And I'm going to use that orange and I'm going to work that orange somewhere along here, the contour of the edge of the face, just to bring that out. Maybe a little bit there. Right there. Then I can go back on the neck and just blend that over. Something like that. It all come together. Let me get some of this. That's too liquidy. It's not blending in the way I want it. the orange is thick. So the pasty ones seem to roll over better, the texture. Bring the texture out. I like working with textures, and it brings more volume to the work. Maybe around here. So again, if you like what you see, of course, subscribe to my channel, ASG-Artizfacts Studio Gallery, ASG Art, Artizfacts Art, Artizfacts Art at YouTube. That's the handle on YouTube. Yeah, it's going to take a minute. I'm going to play with this and see really where I want to go with this in the direction I want to go. Let me see. Bring out the chin a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. I'm going to give him a little goatee beard. And yellow for the lip a little bit on that side. Then I got to bring out the nose. Okay, it's time to play with the nose. Get one of those James Evans noses. Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Dun, 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 dun. And then I'll make a little highlight with the nose or nostril on that side. Then I will bring out more of that bottom lip over here. And then I'm going to have to edge. So now I'm going to edge up. Another brush, clean brush, so my colors stay intense. And then yep, and there it goes. There got that signal. It went out. So hopefully the resolution is relatively decent on this, so that way I can use it. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to play back and see if the video is even visually coherent, so you can see it. You know, otherwise defeat the whole purpose. And hopefully this works, so I'll have to keep using another demonstration. Okay, so back to that yellow. And I'm going to edge that out. Now I would typically use a smaller brush, but because I'm doing this rough, I'm roughing this, I can always do that later on for detail. Put this in like that. And this is how I'm bringing bringing out the let's see, more yellow. This is brother man. Yeah, so I will possibly be setting up in Brooklyn at a pop-up. I'll mention the pop-up because I still haven't committed to it yet. You know, they responded back to my sign-up registry, and they're like, oh, all you got to do now is pay your fee. So I got to see if I really want to commit to this, and I got to check ahead the weather and all that kind of stuff. And it's in Brooklyn, and so I got to really prep for it. But it should be fine. So now we're seeing this is how it is in a sense, not finished. But I'm going to also now work into the other color schemes, get some reds in there, some violets. Oh, excuse me. Some of those violets. Okay. And then right here where I already put in the black, that's when I go back to the violets, just the tip of it. And then maybe I'll highlight those edges. And then that way the texture comes out. Just a soft glaze of the brush. And so I'll have these textures of violet on top of the black. And the background here is black as opposed to here what was violet. So it creates a certain type of visual contrast. And I have the color contrast between the violets and the yellows. Something to make it pop. Okay, that's coming along. Put a little bit of this. Bring out that here. Then I'll bring out some of that red. Let's get the ear going on. Of sorts. And I gotta think what kind of hairstyle I want to give him. I'm still not locked in as of yet. Let me think if I want to separate the lips. Bring in some of that violet, and I can always make it deeper by putting the blue, and I can do a gradation from blue to black. Just some visual contrast. Okay, hair. I got it. I'll use my signature style of hair. When I was a kid, we used to make joke of our hair in a derogatory way. Oh, your hair's so nappy. It's like peas and carrots. Peas and carrots. You know, so much we've gone through when we were kids about our image and our hair and all that stuff. So, I'm going to give them what I call the beads. Little blobs of like shapes that supposed to represent little locks or twists. Not long hair, but short. In a nutshell. Yeah. And I'll go back in later and put in the areas for the eyes. I want to start working with some of the blues and bring the blue values in. Some of that blue in the background and bring it into the foreground. And so, in a nutshell, that's that. Now, what I have this here, this palette that I just created, I'm not going to waste that paint. Okay. And because this is where it is at this stage, typically, what I would do is I'll take this painting and put it to the side, and I'll bring this, going back to this canvas I'm working on, this palette, and I'll make that other painting. So it's a constant cycle. I even have other paintings, you know, that I've done and finished. I can also apply the paint and medium to these. So that's what I'll do before this dries out. And I know I'm not going to use all of it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on. So I'm going to shift and take this off the menu. Off the menu. Put it to the side. And decide which of these two are the abstracts I'm going to work with. I'm going to work on this one. This is the woman, the dancer. So I can really work on this one and bring this one out. Da 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 da. So let's see how we're going to do this. Okay. For now. And here is the sister. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to try to work with this real quick before this paint dries. I'm going to go to using my paint markers. These are acrylic markers. These are metallic. And because they're a finer point, that's when I'm going to start to put the detail in for this figure. So I can see this is her head, her hair, shoulders, hips, you know, for those who it may not be too obvious. But I got to figure out, I'm going to start with the hair flow. What colors I want to use. I don't want to go and use too many color schemes in rear off. I don't want to be too busy. But you know what? Sometimes busy does work. And so I'm going to hold this in place and work with creating some hair texture. Nice wavy line. Curve. Another wavy line. Another wavy line. And then I'll have this hair or this curvy line curve all the way out. I'll have some of it go here for visual continuity. Another one. Another one. Another one. And I will also do this side. And this is going to be her hair. Okay. And I'll fill in some of this. Let's see. And I'll do this one. So if you are joining me now, and artist Kevin McDowell, you're seeing the work, I'm creating the work now, and I hope you like the work. And some of these paintings will be on sale. They're actually the sale-ins today. Yeah, so in the realness, I posted some of these works. Just in commemoration for Black History Month, like, hey, if you're a collector of Black art, art connoisseur, I created a discount code at the beginning of this month on my WhatsApp, and I shared it on my page. So just to let you know, you can still use that code. I'll post the code in the comment sections on this live. I'll repost the code so you guys can see it. But after today, I post the work at its fair market price, meaning that whatever I know I can get for it, that's what I'm going to post it for. And then I'll post the work on my official website page. These paintings are not on my website page. These were a series of works I've just done spontaneously and offered them for sale. And not to mention, I don't post every artwork I create on my official webpage. Selected works I post. I have so much work that I don't post. And people say, you should post it. No, there's a reason why I kind of, some work I archive, some work I post on my site, some work I post on my social media. It's just a different marketing strategy where I outlet the work, where it can be seen. So in a nutshell, let's see. And then I work on redefining her face. This looks kind of cool, this orange, but it looks like it can also be hair. And that'll work between the warm and cool contrast. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play with that. I'm going to accentuate this orange and make that part of her hair. And I think what I will do, I'm going to use this metallic orange. And let's see, it may appear to be brown, but it's good because that will give me some does that work? It kind of works, but I'm not really. It works, but it's too bright. Oh, wait a minute. I got to find a cap. I got to find a cap. I got to find the cap for the marker before it dries out. One thing I don't like is my things drying out. It's like almost like I'm blind. It's like, where's the cap? Did it fall on the floor? It's probably also right in front of me. We're experiencing some real life. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, let me put this aside. I don't want to dry my markers to dry out. I just bought those. Anyway, let me get back to the demo so that way you guys can really see why you're here. All right. So, getting back to this, I was looking for, maybe I'll try this one. This is actually a brown, and this is more of a golden. Let's see which one is. Actually, I think that's even lighter. Nope. I don't want it lighter. That creates more contrast, I think. And it makes it pops up on the orange. So and maybe I'll thicken this up and do something like that. And I will, I don't like the way that came out. So let me work with this. One of the things I do not do well is multitask. I think multitasking is an illusion. It's the way that the corporate world has found a way to milk people for every penny. You know, rather than hiring several people, they hire one person to do the job of two. And they call it multitasking. That is what it is. All right, so I think that's going to work. Like that. And I'll figure out a way to put in her face. That's getting there. Okay. It's getting there. And then something like that. Something like that. And leave it like that. Sometimes I can't even post this stuff on the Book of Faces. They had one of my paintings just similar to like this, abstract. And your content, you know, seems to go against, but they didn't explain what. You know, sometimes the Book of Faces is the Book of Faces. Like, really, it's a Book of Faces. It's a social media database. Anyway, it is what it is. All right, so let me now go to this one. Going to go back. And let me figure this out. How am I going to work with this contour-wise? It's going to be like this. It's going to be like this. I think this is what I'm feeling. I think this is what I'm sensing. And I'm sensing other people, like a group of people in here somewhere. One head, two head, three. So I'm going to go strictly with the markers. But I'm a little distracted because I got to find this marker cap before the tip dries out. And I'm like, ugh. I don't even understand why it's missing. Well, I don't understand why I don't see it. La 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 la. It's very odd. Let me see. Well, that's what you get when it's live, folks. You get those type of situations. It's live. So what do you get? Anyway, this live is going to run over the time. I like to keep my lives condensed to about maybe, especially these demo sessions, to about a half hour just for loading purposes. And so I'm going to jump right into this. And then I'm going to give you an update of some of the other ones The ones I'm working on today, like this one, I'll give you an update on this progress throughout the week. And also this one. Yeah, so this one I'm feeling. This was one of those I had a challenge with. I'm like, what am I going to do with it? And now it's coming to life. And I'll put the detail in and all that kind of good stuff. All right, so for this, I'm going to shift. You know what? Because I don't want this to dry out, I might as well use it. People. Oh, look at that. See something dry out. I didn't want that to happen. You know what? For the sake of it, to save that, switch over. Use the other tip. Give them little sundial faces. Play with those a little bit. And so this will be the other face. So I want this to be black. Only because I have all that color there. It's really, oh, wow. Here it is. I found it. Under my coffee cup. All right. So I'm going to play with this. And I'm going to use, for this one, I'm going to use my finer brush. You know, because I want to paint a thin line. So I'm going to wet this brush in the liquid paint, roll that liquid paint on, and I'm going to roll that paint in, and then I'm going to create here. It's too liquidy. I want to run. Something like that. Something like that. Something like that. And maybe just to bring it out. And then work with that. Curve that, make it a little more feminine. These will be the guys. Or to say the men. Like that. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to work the contour of her body. Let's go with the flow and be organic. That's the whole thing when I'm painting. I don't have to commit to what I see. I can always alter it and bring out something completely different. Yep, there she go. Then this can be the neckline. Shoulder. Maybe she's waiting at the bus stop. I don't know. Curve. Accentuate the curves. Let me see. Okay. And then here, the negative space, I'll play with the hair. Okay, coming together. Like that. And I'll fill this in the void because I got all this color going in. I don't need all of that. In a nutshell. All right. So that's coming together. I'll work on that some more. I'll redefine these faces here, square them off a little bit, make them a little more, quote, masculine in that sense. All right. So that is that in a nutshell, folks. Artist Kevin McDowell coming to you live. This is going to be pre-recorded as I load it up on my YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. All right, so I will post more details about this video, this post in the comment section, and I'll check you guys out later. Peace, no chicken grease. Be good. Stay safe.